Hello. It is recording now.
Oh. Hello.
Open Bandicam. Oh no.
Oh no. So hello.
It's fine.
We're back. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Leave your father alone.
We have two cats in our room and they're really weird. Sorry.
How about you just go, boy?
Anyway. Oh, you've got three droid. Well, this has been a train wreck already. So anyway, we weren't here last week.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so
we
that's
were
fine.
on vacation. So,
Yeah.
that's what that was.
You can make them steal objects. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This is a train wreck.
I'm sorry. So anyway,
Should make
this
them steal the entire text.
week we are doing something. We're doing a podcast about oh.
Anyway, let's get this back on track.
So, this has been an awful intro. My entire brain just shut down. Alright, so last week we did an episode called Appreciate the Beans. Well, not last week, the week before.
Last episode.
Where we talked about characters that we like, and now we're doing the exact opposite of that. So we're going to be talking about characters that we hate, or at least dislike in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And what this has made me realize is that when we were writing down a list of characters that we wanted to talk about, we don't hate nearly as many characters as we like. So this might not be an hour long. This might run a little bit short because we don't have that many
random rambling in the beginning might push it over.
Yeah. Though we do have some pretty strong TM feelings about some of these characters, so we shall see. So do you want to start off strong or start off like weak and then kind of like work into it?
Let's build up to it.
Okay, so I think the weakest one that I have on this list is, and by the way, if we start talking about it, we'll tell you what fandom this is before we start talking about it, and then if you don't want spoilers, then just avoid. Chris from Yuri on Ice.
Yeah.
I don't, hate him. He seems like a nice dude.
He's
I do
nice,
kind of hate him,
character.
though.
He's nice. He never actually, does anything that's, worthy of hating him. He's just he's a little awful.
He's just, I hate him. I don't have a reason to, because he's nice, hangs out with Victor, seems like a genuinely good dude who enjoys the sport, but just, I hate him. He makes me intensely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's I would avoid him like the plague if he was a real human.
He's an interesting...
He likes ice skating a little too much.
Yeah.
And I hate it. But
yeah.
he's probably the person that I hate the least. Because, he doesn't actually do anything that's, bad. He just makes me really uncomfortable, so I don't like him. And everyone else in the show is great and perfect and amazing, so by comparison, he's by far the worst.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people do like him, though.
Yeah.
And I guess I can understand why, because he doesn't actually do anything,
bad.
Mean or anything, yeah.
He's just uncomfortable.
But if he doesn't bother you, then I guess I can see why people would like him.
Yeah.
He bothers us.
Ooh, he bothers me a lot. I was like a big oof. It was I was showing
I like
Yuri on Ice. I know. I was showing Yuri on Ice in the anime club at the school that I used to go to. And, God, I was, like, sitting there and I was like, I hope he doesn't show into, like, much later. Because I really, like, I don't need him to be in this school-supervised club activity. He wasn't, though. We avoided him.
He's not in that very much.
Good. The next smallest thing I guess it's like, I have a deep hatred for these characters, but I'm putting it second on the list, lowest on the list, because I'm not part of fandom for it, because I hate it. It's the entire cast of Divergent. My friend...
I've never read or watched Divergent. Was
it
a movie? Did it become a movie?
Yeah, I
remember one of them becoming a movie.
I think they all did. I think I watched half of one of the movies, and it was okay. But I read the book, because my friend really loves Divergent, and she was like, you gotta read them, they're super good. I think they'd be right up your alley. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I didn't even finish it because I hated it so much. It was so bad. It was literally like the worst. Because it wasn't even like bad writing. It was like they kept hinting at these plot points that were going to become important, and I felt like they were just dragging it on and on.
That's
and not
bad
doing
writing.
Okay, I guess that's fair. I felt like that they
more
were
like
just dragging
bad
it.
storytelling, I guess.
On and on. Like, she was, like, the author was great at, like, describing things and stuff, and, like, making dialogue, just not at telling an interesting story or making good characters. But, like, they just kept dragging all, just these useless things that weren't important at all. I was like, here's a little tidbit of something that's actually interesting anyway. Let's talk about how, like, these crazy fucks just jump off of buildings for fun. And every single character I hated. There was not one character who I was at least like, they're okay. It was like, every one of them.
Why you put them on this list. It's not, this isn't why you hate Divergent.
Yeah, I put them on this list because literally every single one of the characters got on my nerves. They were all insufferable.
You're being very loud.
Right. They were all insufferable. They were all like, they were just giant dicks. And they were all like, we're brave. We jump off buildings. We're brave. We jump on trains. We're brave. We're all fucking morons. It's like, I hated it. I can't even, I think I repressed most of my memories from that book because I can't even give you any examples. I just hated it. Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add to that. I've never read it.
I think you'll have something to add to this next one. Literally everyone's parents in Oran High School Host Club except for Haruhi's.
All of them are the worst.
Haruhi had rad parents. Her mom wasn't in it because she dead. But...
It was implied that she was pretty rad.
And then her dad's literally a gift. He's great. Love her dad. Her dad's rad. She's got a rad dad. He's a bit overprotective, but he's great. And then everyone else just had horrible parents who just suck ass.
The amount of, like, family issues
I was like,
in that show. It was like, what the hell is this? It was all that, it was like... It wasn't even, like, a thing until, like, the last leg of the show, too. So it was, like, suddenly they're just like, oh, by the way, family issues. It's like, no. Okay, good.
It was so bad. It was, like...
so happy.
The twins probably had it the best because their parents were just busy, so they didn't get to spend much time with them.
Yeah, their parents...
But their parents were nice. They just didn't spend much time with
They didn't really
kids.
talk much about their parents.
Yeah.
It was implied that their parents were, like, pretty average parents. They just weren't around.
Yeah.
They had, like, a nanny, though, that they liked.
And so she robbed them.
Yeah. Which I guess just that didn't make them like her less, though.
Yeah.
But... yeah, it's not like their parents were, like, neglecting them. They were like, we have no time. Have a nanny who's gonna steal our money.
Yeah, and then I think second it was like Honey and Maury's family. Maury didn't really say anything. Like, they were, like, Honey and Maury are related, but they didn't really, like...
Yeah, they have the same family. They're cousins. Yeah, so they're related.
Honey's dad was a piece of work.
Yeah, but he seemed pretty chill. Like,
he just...
like, later, didn't he?
I guess?
I can't really remember.
Yeah.
It seemed like... They had that weird thing where all of the family members have to fight each other on site, but that was, like, just more real weird than it was, like, bad. Like, it wasn't, like, a legit fight, it was, like, sparring. Yeah. Because they were, like, a weird, crazy martial arts family.
But then, like, his dad was just like, you're not allowed to like the things you like because you have to be tough, macho. It was a whole lot of toxic masculinity, basically. But he, on average, was not that bad. And then...
Because Honey just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna hug stuffed animals and stuff cake in my face. And his dad was basically just like, I guess I shall
allow it. I guess I'll allow it. But then we get into real pieces of work. Oh boy! So the second worst family in the show is Tamaki's, because his dad's a bitch on a biscuit, let me say.
I could never really tell if I was supposed if it was like joking or like
I didn't like him regardless. I just have to own way, just crouched.
It didn't seem to bother Tamaki very much. It didn't seem to bother Tamaki very much.
Yeah, but
which makes me think that maybe it was like just kind of like a joking kind of thing, because Tamaki just seemed mildly irritated at best.
Yeah, but it's like he was all like, oh, he was like, just real shit towards his son. Trying to, like, force him to do this, force him to do that. There was a whole thing with his mom, which was unfortunate. His mom seemed rad, but then his grandma was worse than his dad.
Yeah, his dad didn't seem like he was very happy with that arrangement either.
But he was too spineless to do anything about it. It's like, oh, your grandma, and it's like, oh, your mom doesn't like who you married, so he makes... You leave her in France, and then, like...
No, he married someone else, remember?
Yeah.
That he was, like, forced to do that.
Yeah, force him to marry someone, and then when he, wants to marry the person that he actually loves, you're like, nah, and then you, like...
And then he's like, fine.
And then he's got a son in France for, 14 years, and then he's like, well, your mom's sick, so I guess I gotta take care of you now, you little shit biscuit. And then it's like, honestly, he needs,
I didn't get that vibe. It was more like he was just like, this is inconvenient.
Yeah.
It wasn't the greatest thing.
It's like he's an adult just because his mom was like, oh, you gotta marry this person and not the person you love. He could have been like, fuck you.
He wasn't an asshole, though. He was a
bit of a dick.
He was a little bit of an asshole.
He was a bit of a dick. Like, when he was, meeting Haruhi, he was just like, oh, you can just call me uncle, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't give a shit. I don't remember. And then, when he was, and then when, Tamaki was like, hey, Dad, he was like, call me Chum! And he was like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
But he wasn't that
He seemed a little strict, but he seemed like he was overall...
Not the worst.
Fine!
He was not the worst. Because the worst was Kyoya's dad!
Hate that guy. We didn't really talk about Tamaki's grandma much. She was the worst.
His grandma's the worst. She was like, oh, I'm gonna force your mom to, live in France. And then it'd be like, oh, if you wanna... And then, she was like, yeah, go marry this dude, hey, you gotta go marry this chick and not the chick that you love. And then when he didn't have a son, she was like, well, you need an heir because gender roles, I guess. And then she was just like, so we're gonna pluck your son out from France and be like, oh yeah, come with us to France, and then your mom will be taken care of so she won't be, super sick and stuff or whatever. But you can never see her again because I'm a bitch and I hate her for no reason.
Absolutely no reason for her to not.
Just because she's not the person that she wanted her son to marry. And then she's
technically, it was an affair, but,
Yeah, well...
It was with an arranged marriage, so who really gives a shit?
Yeah. So basically, terrible. Hate
Truly,
her.
yeah.
The worst. But
Pretty
not...
bad.
No, she's not the worst.
But
Because
not
the worst is Kyoya's dad, who I would kick into the stratosphere on sight if he was a real human.
Yeah.
Because he fucking sucks.
Yeah.
He's just like...
He's pretty fucking
He's a mega
awful.
bitch.
He's
You know,
a mega
slaps his son in the face for doing something he enjoys and hanging out with people because it's not...
Because they don't even notice he's...
He was like... He's like, oh, that's not a productive way to spend your time. As is everything your son has to fucking do. It has to be, like, work-related. Like, what? You want, like, a medical facility. So, obviously, it's like, oh... Your son, everything your son does has to be related to your stupid pharmaceutical company or whatever the hell. He can't have clubs, he can't have friends. If it's something he's doing isn't related to your business, then it's meaningless and he's a disappointment even though he's way smarter than anyone in your fucking family. And he fucking bought your company out from under you and then threw it back in your face like the icon he is.
Probably why Kyoya didn't seem too bothered. He was just like, I just bought you fucking company, so I don't give a shit about it.
It's like one of the big problems that Kyoya had was that he was always afraid to enjoy himself and that he was always like under this extreme pressure to do extremely well because if he didn't then he wouldn't inherit the company at all and then he'd basically just be like the disappointment child just because he was younger even though he was like way better than everyone else in his fucking family and you know that made him kind of like a dick sometimes.
I think that might have just been the way he was.
He was like a dick to Tamaki though. But it was like,
it was like in like the friend way.
Yeah. Not at first.
No,
Eventually.
Legitimate hatred. But then he was pretending to like him. So
yeah, I love Kyoya the way he is, but I feel like that if his dad was less of a dick, he would have been like a really different person. Because it was like
I kind of like him as an evil mastermind, though.
I know, but it's like he only made friends with people. The only, like, genuine friends he had were people from the host club because Tamaki wore him down and then he actually liked the other people from the host club. But, like, before that, the only people he ever fucking hung out with because he was like, oh,
you're important.
Your family is important, so maybe if I make a connection with you, my dad will hate me less. It's like...
Anyway,
he's the worst summed up. Love Kyoya, hate Kyoya's dad. Fuck Kyoya's dad. He deserved to have his company bought out from under him.
Anyway.
God. Alright. Alright. So I got Drosselmeyer on there too.
Yeah, the only character I do not like in Princess Tutu.
So the thing about Drosselmeyer is I, like, love him and hate him.
Yeah.
Because he's a really great he's from Princess Tutu, by the way, which you should definitely watch.
He's an amazing antagonist.
He's an amazing antagonist.
That being said, I hate him.
Yeah, he's just, like, the worst. He's, like, he's just in it for, like, the fucking drama of it all. He don't give a shit. He's out there killing people, ruining people's lives. He's got a complete character list of just the absolute beings, and he's like, I'm gonna make them all fucking suffer. He's like the writer of he's like a caricature of the writer of everything I enjoy.
Just that caricature of the crazy writer who just wants all the characters to burn in the pits of hell.
Yeah, and he's like a mega shit.
But he is a very interesting and entertaining antagonist.
He was very entertaining, very interesting, and he was a very well-written antagonist to to the point where it's like for most of it, you don't even think he's the antagonist. You think he's like a
kind of creepy protagonist.
You kind of think he's kind of like a neutral kind of guy, you know, like he wants the story to progress, which means sometimes he helps the characters and sometimes he hurts them to make it interesting.
Like neutral, like he just helps whichever characters would get the story going.
Yeah, and then...
Just like a creepy, spooky, neutral character.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like a little creepy, a little spooky. He's in it for the drama of the all, but he's not evil until it gets to the end where he's like, all of you will burn, and then I'm like, fuck you, I love them!
Anyway.
Who else do I have here? Gonna build up to that one. I'm gonna build up to that one. I guess the other one that's not like a super mega hatred is like Dumbledore. I like Dumbledore, but I don't like him at the same time.
I do like them.
When I
know that like in my brain, I know he's kind of the worst,
but I like him.
But I do like him,
and that like makes me not like him more at the same time because it's like in my brain, I'm like logically I should hate him because he's a shit. And then because he's a shit, and it was never like it was addressed that he was a flawed person, but in the book they didn't really like give him like any sort of redemption or anything. They like made him seem like a flawed person, but then they didn't address a lot of the shitty things that he did.
Though a lot of the shitty things he did was when he was a lot younger. So it's kind of implied that everything since then was kind of like a redemption kind of thing.
But he was still a real shit to Harry. He had reasons, but it was still like that.
He was like trying.
Yeah.
To be.
It's like, I like Dumbledore, but in my brain, logically, I'm like, he's kind of like the worst.
I think the point was that he was trying his best.
But he did it wrong all the time.
But he was still trying his best.
Yeah, it's like, when I was younger, when I first read it or whatever, I was like, oh, Dumbledore is great, and I had no, like, complaints about Dumbledore, and I'm like, he kind of handled a lot of things pretty shit, didn't he?
I like those comics, the Dumbledore.
Oh, yeah, the ones that are just like, this is a school.
This is a school?
Like, because he's like, when I was younger, I was like, how dare you disgrace Harry Potter, but now I'm like, haha, that's kind of true.
Kind of fair. Dumbledore is a bit...
I put him on there because I have very mixed feelings about Dumbledore. Because it's like, overall,
he's really funny.
Yeah, he's funny, and he wasn't, like, an antagonist, and I don't hate him, but I was also, like he just kind of makes me angry sometimes. And it's, like, a lot of the things, and I think one of the reasons why it makes me angry is because he did shitty things, and then he had, like, good reasonings for it. So I was like, he put Harry in an abusive home, but it was because it would keep Voldemort from finding him, but it was also,
and he also probably didn't know how shit the Dursleys were, to be fair.
Minerva was like, I've only been standing here for one day, and I can tell you how shit they are. And he was like, oh, I've already put them there. I don't know what you want. What do you want me to do about it?
There's probably like, okay, so they're like obsessively normal and have a brat of a son. They probably won't be that bad, though.
They were real bad.
Yeah, he probably, to be fair, you probably wouldn't anticipate how shit they were going to be. And it was like, a lot of the things he did were kind of shit, but he had, like, good reasons, and they had, like, good outcomes.
Yeah. But then somebody else pointed out that he probably knew that Sirius was innocent.
How?
I can't remember how they, like, described it, but it was because, like, God, how was it? Because it was, like, I think it had something to do with, like, Snape. I can't remember how they, like, it made sense when I read it, but I can't remember. But they were basically, like, there's at least an 80% chance that he knew that Sirius was innocent, and he just, like, left him in jail anyway.
I think I might have read something about that. Like, something similar. And I think it was something like, Dumbledore might have known that Sirius wasn't the Potter's secret keeper.
Yeah.
But that doesn't also necessarily mean he didn't murder Peter. So that could have been why he left him in jail, because, you know, he might have known that Peter was the Potter's secret keeper and not Sirius. But then that would also make it pretty reasonable to think that Sirius went out and then murdered Peter, in which case he wouldn't be innocent of murder, at least.
I also just wanted to tell you that I got really distracted while you were talking, because the way your shirt is right now makes... She's wearing a shirt that has a picture of Sherlock on it, and from the angle that I'm at, his face looks real weird. Because of the folds in the shirt. And it made his eyes look like they were really far apart. So I got really distracted by that. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like... So it's like, even if he knew Sirius was innocent of betraying the Potters,
Yeah.
he probably didn't necessarily know Sirius was innocent of murder.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing. God, there's just...
So
and then he was like, you know, sacrificed. He was like willing to sacrifice Harry to die, but then he was also like.
But the thing about that's not great.
But it was like he had a reason. It was to take down Voldemort. So it was important, but it was also like you are sacrificing a life that is not yours.
Yeah, and it's like. It's kind of hard to hate him, because, like, with that one in particular, Harry was also willing to sacrifice Harry to stop Voldemort.
Yeah, but that's, like, Harry's choice to make.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still kind of
the reason why I put him on there is because it's, like, it frustrates me, because I don't know how to feel about him, because part of me likes him a lot, and then part of me doesn't like him at all. And then part of me is just like, because he does shit things for good reasons, but they're still kind of shit, even if they're for good reasons. So
and they have good outcomes.
What are you
it's
supposed
not like,
to be?
Like, it's not like a villain with, like, a motivation or reason that's understandable. It's like, but, like, what they're doing is essentially, like, bad. It's like It's like he has good reasons, and most of the things he did had good outcomes.
Yeah.
They were just kind of the way they got done was just a little bit shit.
I feel like Dumbledore would have been a good Slytherin.
Probably.
Because he was very much like any means to an end kind of guy. True. Especially when he was younger and would have been sorted into Hogwarts.
Yeah.
This way.
But, you know, that's a different...
Yeah. Overall, I feel like I can't hate him, but also I feel like I kind of gotta be like... He's like a problematic fave, in a way. Yeah. But he's not my fave, also. He's like a problematic...
had an affinity for writing gray areas with characters.
Yes, she did. So, who I got next? I've got a couple people. I'm gonna get this one out of the way because I don't know, I just want to. Okay, so I wrote down, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I wrote down on there. Thanos' grape-looking ass.
Yeah.
Because let me just say, you're not, like, a lot of the people that we put on here are, like, not characters that you're supposed to dislike.
I feel like a lot of them are so far, actually.
Well, it's like there are a lot of characters where it's like they're kind of like they have mixed opinions.
Yeah.
But
instead of, like, just like, they're the main villain, of course you're going to hate them. We kind of avoided that.
Yeah.
At least a little bit, because it was like, well, there's not much to discuss there. It's like, yeah.
But I feel like I want to discuss Thanos particularly because of, like, when in Infinity War, when they tried to, like, humanize him with Gamora. Because I was sitting there, and it was like, oh, you're crying because to get what you want, you have to kill your daughter. You still fucking killed your daughter, you shit bitch. You ain't cool. You're not convincing anyone. It was like... God, it was like, oh, you expect me to feel bad for the bitch because he showed one, in parentheses, one human emotion, because you're wrong.
I'm not sure if you were supposed to feel bad for him, or just, like, they were trying... I'm not sure if they were, like, trying to, like, give him a redeeming quality, or just trying to make him feel less like a mustache-twirling villain TM. Like, just
either
seem
way,
more
they were trying to humanize him, which is a way, which, you know, often means that you give them some kind of redeeming quality or some way that you can, like, empathize with them. But I felt nothing for him. I was like...
But, like, trying to give them, like, some can also be, like, giving, like, a villain a realistic motivation, just to make them, like, feel more like a real person.
Yeah.
And less like a villain TM.
Regardless,
I'm not sure if it was, like... I do hate him.
I'm not sure if it was, like... 3/4 of my faves.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was, like, supposed to be, like... a redeeming quality, or just supposed to be like he has emotion sometimes. just like, you know, because that's like a pretty shit way to
yeah, but
because like, especially because like 4 seconds earlier Gamora was like, "Ha, you fuck, you don't love anything ever, you shithead."
Yeah, and then he was like, "No, I love you," and then it was just
and then she was like, "No, you fucking don't."
Yeah. Thank God. I mean, like, even before they made him, like, this big bad villain, I thought he was a shit, because it was like, I felt really bad for Nebula in, like, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, because it was like...
You're supposed to feel bad for
yeah, but it was like...
They gave her, like, reason.
Like, then I didn't even, like, really know who Thanos was, what his importance was gonna be. But I was still like, damn, he sucks. He's literally, like, chopping parts off his daughter and, like, shoving metal into him.
You're supposed to hate him.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be
I just feel like I needed to bring it up because
also,
he's a shit.
I like how some people are like, Thanos' motivation doesn't mean much to make him, like, seem like a better person, considering if he had the Infinity Stones, he could just make more resources. Because, like, his thing is, like, I want to kill half the universe, so instead of the because so many planets are getting overpopulated. It's like, you have Infinity Stones, you could just make more planets. For
you
more
don't have
people.
to be this way.
You don't have to. You're taking the worst possible option.
So yeah, he's despite in addition to being a shithead, he's also real stupid.
Yeah,
he's not a good problem solver.
Yeah.
All right. Who else do I have here?
Or he's just like a shit and is just trying to justify being a shit to himself.
Yeah.
Maybe like, it's for the greater good as I murder half of everyone. Anyway.
How long have we been doing this for? Probably not long enough.
We're gonna keep going.
Alright,
Half an hour.
Okay. So who I got next is I got General Krell.
Ooh.
From Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
I feel like
known as the character I hate way more than any other character in Star Wars, including the fucking Emperor.
Yeah. I feel
Most people who are like, seen Star Wars don't even know who the fuck this bitch is, but I hate him more than the Emperor.
He's
the worst. He's a frog-looking bitch to start off. He's literally got a throat sack. And he's just, alright, okay, if you don't know, and you don't care about being spoiled, General Krell was the main antagonist in this one story arc. And I actually really enjoy the story arc because it centers a lot around Rex, which is my favorite character, and he's like not always like the star of the show. He's kind of like
he's a clone.
Being my favorite character is kind of like when you're a parent and you're rooting for your kid in the school play and they're playing tree number 3. He's a big character. He's a bigger character. It's not like I just picked some random ass clone in the background and it's like, that one's my favorite. Like, he's a major character. He's a major character, but he's not a main character. So I spent most of my childhood in paralyzing fear that he was gonna die.
Yeah, because it's like main characters, it's like, you can kind of tell when they're going to die, because it's gonna, or like, they're less likely to die.
Especially in Star Wars The Clone Wars, because a lot of the main characters were like Anakin and Obi-Wan, so they couldn't die.
They have a couple more things to do in the universe before that happens.
But someone like a clone who, yes, is a major character who a lot of people really love, it'd be pretty easy just to kill him and then be like, deal with it. So, I
was also in paralyzing fear, because my favorite character was Ahsoka, who wasn't in any later things.
Yeah, she was a main character.
So she was like less likely to be killed off suddenly with no warning.
But she was also like Anakin's Padawan, who he did not have in episode 3, which meant something happened to her.
Yeah.
And it turned out she just left, which is good by me. She doesn't deserve death.
Okay with that.
But yeah. It was a little bit yikes for both of us.
The one thing I do thank Disney for when they created Rebels, which is a terrible show and I hate it.
It's so bad. I want to, like, part of me wants to watch it just to see if it gets better like the Clone Wars did, but the thing about the Clone Wars is that
it was still off pretty good
in the beginning, and then the beginning of the Rebels I was like, oh, they're stealing fruit. Oh, they're doing some other shit I don't care about.
Yeah, but I do thank them for being like, yes, these clones in Ahsoka, you all really like, they're alive, they're fine.
They're good.
It's all good. I did appreciate that.
They just, yeah. They just.
But anyway.
Anyway, so basically, this bitch Quell, he was in this one story arc that centered around Rex, where it was like they were on this planet called Umbaria, and they were fighting these people who lived there who were, I guess, aligned with the Separatists or whatever. That wasn't the main center of the story arc, but basically what it was is that Anakin and Obi-Wan had to, like, fuck off somewhere. I don't remember. I haven't watched it in a while.
Something, like, important.
Yeah. So they left the 501st Legion, which is what Rex is in charge of there to keep fighting. And then, like, Cody's Legion was there, too. So, like, Anakin and
Obi-Wan was there.
Obi-Wan was there. He just wasn't, like, with the 501st.
He was, like, on another part of the planet.
Yeah. Anakin had to leave, and he put General Quell in his place to kind of be in charge. And he's a mega shit. And you know this from the beginning, because he shows up there, and he straight up just disrespects my boy Rex, because he's like... He won't call any of them by their names. He calls them by either their rank or, like, their serial number. And basically he's like, droids are better than clones. You guys are all disposable. I hate you all. And he's basically, like, known for being a shithead and known for being the general with, like, the highest casualty rates. Because he was pretty much just like, anything must be done to achieve victory, that he pretty much just throws clones at the enemy until they die.
People, like, it's not really established very well in, like, the main movies, but, like, clones, they all, like,
they have unique personalities.
They, like, have, like, the same face, but they all have, like,
voice, but
they don't have the same brain.
They all have unique personalities, they all have different preferences and different, like, senses of humor, different styles, some adhere to rules more than others, they're all unique individuals.
Was, like, the point of them, like, they were, like, better than droids because they could think for themselves, because they were real, actual living people. You could just make a lot of them
very quickly. It was basically, the way I like to describe it is that they're like twins in the way that they look the same, but they're both different, except there's just millions of them instead of two.
Million twins. What do you even call
I
them?
don't know. But anyway, so all the clones are automatically, they don't like this guy very much because he's a shit. And then he just keeps, and then basically throughout it, he's like, we must stick to this plan, and they're like, they're killing us.
That's a terrible plan.
This is a terrible plan.
It's awful.
And like 5 of us have better plans than your plan. He was like, I don't give a shit. You're stupid. You're a clone. What do you know? So he just keeps throwing clones down this stupid ass plan. And then, like, eventually people, like, a bunch of the clones are, like, talking to Lex, and one of the things about Lex is that one of the things that I liked about this story is that it gave him a lot of, like, character development, because in the beginning he was a lot more, like, by-the-book, no-nonsense kind of guy, and then throughout the series...
But that was usually fine, because usually the person he was listening to, who was Anakin, who is... not by the book, so you could.
He was like, he did what he was told, but he was often told to do crazy shit because he was being told to do things by Anakin.
So you didn't really notice it very much, because it was like, he listened to, like, orders and stuff, but his orders were usually, like, crazy as shit, so
it was like, there was this whole crisis of conscience thing going on, because Lex and all the and a bunch of the clones who he was with were like, this guy doesn't care about our lives. We are all going to die, and we all have these better plans that he will not take. So, like, Lex doesn't want to, like, disobey his general, but then he's also, like, can't keep doing this. And then there's this whole heartbreaking scene where it's revealed that all along Quell has been a total bitch and was a traitor to the Republic, and basically the reason why he had such high death rates is because he was trying to kill off as many of the Republic's forces as he could. And he won a lot of battles because he didn't want to raise suspicion against himself, but he also, like, took out as many of the resources as he could and, like, you know, like, gave the Separatists information and shit like that. And there's this whole thing where they're like, alright, we gotta execute this bitch because he's a Jedi and he could kill all of us and he's evil. And it was just this whole thing. It was really good arc. But basically, Quell is straight up the worst. He disrespected my sons. He is a traitor. I hate him. Even before he was a traitor, he was just a little bitch who I hated. And then he was, like, evil. And he caused one of, like, the saddest scenes in the whole show, making me emo, and I hate him a lot.
I just kind of let you. But yeah, he's
the worst.
Truly the worst ever.
He is the worst. I mean, he didn't, like, massacre people like the Emperor did.
They did murder him, didn't they?
Yeah.
He did.
It wasn't Rex. Like, Rex was, like, gonna do it because he was like, I gotta, and then, like, Dogma did it.
Oh, yeah, he was, like, there's this one character who's, like, really hardcore following the rules.
Yeah.
So he's, like, listening to everything this bitch said, but then he found out he was a traitor, and he felt really betrayed, so he shot him, and then they were like, you probably shouldn't have done that, but we were gonna execute him anyway, so we don't care that much.
Yeah, and that was just that's such a good story arc, man. But anyway.
That we just spoiled.
We warned them.
Yeah.
You should watch The Clone Wars, by the way. It's on Netflix. It's a little, like... I really like it when it starts out. There were some people who weren't really big fans of it. That's probably because I started watching it. It came out when I was 8. So it was like, I didn't really need the peak of lighting to start out with. And then when I go back and watch it, I still really enjoy it. Because, 1, it's good. And then, 2, it's because I'm like, haha, this is a big part of my childhood. I know there's some people who watched it when they were older and they, like, didn't like it as much. But by the end of it, it's so good. So if you're, like, older and you start watching it, in the beginning it might seem a little bit, like, younger, but it grew up with its audience
and
really
it's not
well.
so, it's not like Rebels, where it's like, oh, this show is meant for 4-year-olds!
It's like, it's entertaining, and it's good, and you get really attached to the characters because they write them really well, and then there's some jokes, there's some good jokes that go over your head when you're a kid, and then when you grow up, you're like, oh, I see. It's a good show. It's on Netflix. You should watch it. Anyway, I've got 3 people left on my list.
I have 2.
So who I got, I'm gonna start off with Ian.
Oof, I forgot about it.
Ian. I think we talk about Aftermath series in, like, every podcast, I swear to God, but anyway.
Yeah, sometimes we're not talking about it in the best light, though. We do like it, though.
Ian.
In case that got lost.
This mega shit guy. He starts off in, like, the prequel series, and he is the biggest cinnamon roll
I always
bean.
feel really bad talking about this on this podcast, because, like, the way... Aftermath, she had, like, this main series, which was, like, this action fantasy series. Then she made, like, a comedy spin-off of it.
Yeah.
Where that takes place in, like, suburbia. And then it got a lot less funny. And it's, like, she does, like, a prequel thing that'll be, like, going at, like, the same time as, like, the one that it's a prequel to, and she'll, like, do a ton of time skips. It's a mess. The whole thing is just a bunch of AUs and prequels and shit. It's a mess. So I always feel weird talking about it, because it's like, it probably doesn't make any fucking sense.
Oh, well, anyway, in the prequels, Aphmau's in high school, she accidentally becomes, like, the female alpha of the werewolf pack at their school, because those exist.
They kept all the fantasy stuff when they made it a comedy spin-off.
Yeah, and so she meets this dude who's new to school, he's the biggest bean, and because he's new, he's the Omega, which is basically the opposite of the alpha. And he's the sweetest, and I love him. He's got, like, an emo alternative boy aesthetic. He's got, like, dyed hair, and he's just the purest
like, a piercing in his, like, wolf ear.
I know. He's just, like, the purest absolute bean. And then,
at the same time as this prequel was going on, there's the comedy spin-off starting to get a lot less funny.
And there's this big serious thing going on where they're all trapped in a lodge and they're getting, like, attacked by wolves, and there's a ghost, and there's this guy who has, like, these potions that
mind control people.
That can mind control people, and the effects last forever, and they don't know who it is, and they're all freaking the fuck out, and it's really good. I enjoy. And not enjoy the thing. It was painful, but it was good. And then it was like, and then in the show, there's in this version, the alpha male had already graduated, and they need to pick another one. But there's this thing where basically they assume that the alpha male and the alpha female are dating. So she's and she wants to make sure that she'd become the alpha female by accident, but by this time she had really become dedicated to it, and she wanted to pick someone who would do a good job.
How did she become the alpha female? It was because
people assumed she was dating the alpha male the year before, so she just kind of, so she just kind of, like, became...
And then even after he graduated, her title stayed.
Yeah, so basically she needed to pick a new one, and she was basically like, I don't remember the exact details, but Ian ended up becoming the alpha.
Because she was Ian's nice.
Yeah.
He'll probably do a good job.
As soon as he became the alpha, he got a lot less nice and betrayed us all!
No, but before that, they revealed who the big villain was, and secret. Like, he was just this little bean. He was like, he wanted to become the alpha because he was the Omega, and being the Omega sucks.
But then in Emerald Secret, which was the series that took place in, like, current time, they reveal who the guy is who's, like, causing all their problems. and it's Ian, and he's angry at Aaron over something that happened in high school that they hadn't elaborated on yet. And then he's also obsessed with Aphmau, and, wants her to become a werewolf so she could be perfect.
Because he's that kind of person.
Yeah, and then, uses all these potions on it so that she hates Aaron and loves him, and he basically, just stabs us all in the back. And then in the prequel, he acts like a huge bitch doing the thing, beats up this kid, puts him in the hospital, which causes a whole lot of repercussions, and he's basically the worst. And so I put him on this list because not only, he's a really good antagonist, but I hate him a lot more than I probably would have in other circumstances because I loved him in the beginning. Because he was the purest, sweetest being, and I loved his aesthetic, and then it turned out that he did all of it just so that he could become the alpha and, win Aphmau for his own, because he heard that she liked the bad boy aesthetic. Which doesn't make sense to me, because he's like, yeah, she likes bad boys, because Aaron kind of had, a punk rock
He's kind of edgy.
He kind of was edgy, but then he was also,
so I'm gonna be the nicest.
The nice is, yeah, she likes bad boys, so let me put a piercing in my ear and dye my hair, and then be the sweetest cinnamon roll, and it was alright, whatever. But I loved him! And then he was evil, and now I hate him, and I hate him more because they made me like him.
Good plot twist.
It was a great plot twist. Too bad we just spoiled it. Y'all should know how it works by now. If we start talking about something and you don't want to spoil it for it, then just leave.
Just click out.
Oof. So we got 2 people left. Who do you want to do first?
Who do we hate more?
That's a great question. I feel like I'm gonna go with Clara to go first, because as much as I fucking despise Clara, she's not as bad as the last one on this
That's fair. Though I do feel like I hate Clara a little more than I should, because you're
not supposed to hate her.
You're supposed to like her, and that irritates me more.
She's supposed to be likable, but they did a bad job, because literally 50% like her and 50% hate her. But she's the worst. She's by far the worst. She's worse than Barbara in the beginning of classic Doctor Who, when all she did was scream and fall over things.
Okay, she's not that bad.
She's not that bad anymore.
She wasn't...
Barbara got a glow up and started actually doing things.
No, Chloe was never
that
bad. Chloe never... Literally all Barbara did in the first few episodes of classic Doctor Who was trip and cry. Chloe was not that useless.
I know she was never that useless, but she irritates me more than Barbara did.
Oh, that's because Barbara wasn't a shithead.
Clara, in case you don't know, is a giant shit. So what she does...
In case
you're supposed to like her, but she's super bossy and annoying and just straight up mean. She's not nice. They treat her like she's supposed to be nice.
All the
and loving and caring and
to her as if
friend.
She's nice, but
yeah, but she's not nice. She's a huge bitch. She's
mega bitch.
All the time she's getting mad at the Doctor for things that aren't his fault, making him feel like a shit person, and he already feels like a shit person. He needs someone who is supportive and is like, listen, it's not your fault that this thing happened. You're trying your best and you are a good person. But she was just like, yeah, I don't know if you're a good person. Or she was just yelling at him for doing shit that was stupid. And she was just like, yeah, you're the worst because you did this minorly inconvenient thing. And then she treated Danny horribly. And here's the thing. There were a ton of people who like Clara who hate Danny. And it's why? It should be the other way around. Because Danny is her love interest. And Danny is
good.
A math teacher at the school that she works at. And he is a veteran. Which, that causes some friction with the Doctor at first. But, the Doctor's kind of just a shithead when he's 12, just for the bants.
He doesn't... The Doctor isn't a fan of soldiers.
Yeah.
Generally.
But the thing about Danny was that he had accidentally killed a child when he was deployed. And that was, like, a big thing for him that, like, haunted him. And Clara made fun of him for it and made jokes about it. And then when he was like, that's not fucking funny, she was just like, alright, no need to be a bitch about it. I was just making a joke because that's what I do. And I was like, do you not understand how humans work?
Criminy.
She
She's
angers me
also pretty shallow.
She's very shallow.
Because, like, she got along fine with the Doctor when he was 11.
Oh, yeah.
She liked him just fine.
She thought, she was like, haha, he's cute and funny. She had a bit of a crush. Not like a huge crush on him, but like a bit of a crush on him. Like, she got over it pretty quick. But, like, she was all like, oh, I love the Doctor. And then he regenerated, and he's not a young dude anymore.
And I get it might be a little awkward if you kind of had a crush on the dude, and then suddenly he's like an old man. He was already, like, 900 years old. But, like,
so that shouldn't be, like, the huge issue there, but I
get how it might be a little awkward now that he looks like an old guy. I can get that being a little awkward.
But she was mad at him about it. And here's the thing. She was, like, mad at him for dying and then regenerating. And here's the thing. Rose was kind of mad at him for... Rose and Clara have been the only companions in New Who were there when he regenerated.
Yes.
So... I kind of compare their reactions to it. And both of them kind of got angry at the Doctor, but the difference was he didn't tell Rose what was going on. She had no idea that he could do this, and she had no idea if, now that he was a new person, he would, like, if he would act different, if he would still love her, if he would still be the person that she loved.
That's what she was worried about.
That's what she was worried about.
And personality changing.
And she felt kind of betrayed because this was an important, which is fair because that was an important thing. He probably should tell people about it more often. But she felt like that she really knew him and had this deep connection with him, and then there was this huge thing that she never knew about, and she didn't know how it was going to affect him. But as soon as she, like, realized...
As soon as he, like, woke up from his coma...
and acted pretty much the same and was still like, hey, Rose, I love you. Then she was, like, fine with it. She was like, this is chill. I recognize that I was upset over nothing. Even though it was a valid concern, I was worried about something that I didn't need to be worried about. Claw already knew about regeneration and had met, like, 4 of them.
She met all of them.
She met all of them, but then it had substantial conversations with 3 of them. So then he regenerates, and she's not worried that he's gonna act like a different person. She's pissed because he looks old now.
And I get maybe being a little bit confused, because you'd think if he regenerated, he would probably look younger. Like, the idea of regenerating into an old person is a little bit like, that seems kind of backwards.
But she was, like, angry. And
like, I could understand if she was like, just a question, why would you regenerate into being older instead of, like, younger or, like, the same age?
And then he could have been like, that's just how the cookie crumbles on this bitch of an earth, Clara. But, like, she was angry at him about being old. And she was like...
He's already old, Clara.
And then she was like, she didn't want to hang out with him anymore. She was like, he literally had to, like, give her a phone call from the past and explain to her that he needed her support because this was a trying time for her to, like, stop being a dick to him. And it was like, with Rose, she was just like, oh, you're still the same person, and you still want to travel with me, I love you.
Good.
And you love me. Let's go and have adventures and go on cute dates and shit. And then Claw was like, I don't even want to see you anymore. And then, like, his past regeneration has to be like, Claw, stop being a little bitch. I'm still me.
Because I know you're gonna be a little bitch about this.
I know you're gonna be a little bitch about this because you're a little bitch. But you should stop because you should know that I'm the same person. And I'm having a time, TM, so you should just suck it up and deal with it. And then she's like, I guess I'll let you buy me coffee. And then she didn't speak to him for like 3 weeks.
That was partially the doctor's fault, because he went to go get the coffee and then didn't show up for 3 weeks.
But she didn't seem overly concerned about that.
Well, I don't think anyone is, because the doctor has a tendency to do that. She had known him for a while.
That's fair. But basically, Clara's very vain, she's very shallow, she's very bossy, and she's mean, and I don't like her.
Yeah, she's the worst.
And she was around for way too long. The one interesting thing about her the one personality trait that she had that wasn't irritating got extinguished in like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Terrible. Terrible. But not as terrible. If a pretty close second to the final person that we have on this list.
Probably already
is.
been an hour. Yeah.
Oh well, we gotta talk about Severus Snape for 40 fucking minutes because I hate him. He is the character who is my least favorite on this list. I have never liked him. There's a lot of people who think that he's some kind of tragic hero, that he's a good Slytherin.
No.
He's
not at
the
all.
worst.
He may not have been necessarily evil,
but he's the worst.
though his motivations for not being evil are shaky
at best. Because here's the thing about...
He wasn't evil, though. That's his one redeeming quality, was that he wasn't a Death Eater. That's a really low bar. Like, oh, it's alright, he's great, because he wasn't an antagonist. And it's like, wow, amazing.
He had a tragic backstory, which, newsflash, so did fucking Harry fucking Potter, who is still a great dude, so that's not an excuse. If an explanation, but he meets Lily, falls in love with Lily, and then
immediately really obsessed and creepy.
Yeah. And then goes to Hogwarts, gets into it with James because they both hate each other because they both like Lily, and then also they have very different ideologies. James is a little bit of a shit. He grows out of it.
Snape does
not grow out of it. And also, he was like, there's, like, you know, James did some shitty things to him, so he understandably didn't like James. But he also did some shitty things to James. And then, one point, he calls Lily a slur for her descent. I know.
You can say it's a fictional slur.
I know. It's mudblood.
You're, like, avoiding
I know.
it. Like, it's
no,
like
I
a
wasn't.
real slur.
I wasn't avoiding it, but I was, like, just saying that he calls her mudblood, which is a slur in their in the wizarding world. And then when she's like, yo, the fuck, man? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was just upset. I know you're different than the other Muggle-born. So he's basically like, oh, don't worry. I didn't mean to call you a slur, but everyone else, oh, they're mudbloods. They fucking suck, but you don't. You're great. Which is already, like, some, like, that was obviously, like, the whole mudblood thing is obviously, like, a metaphor for racism, so that's some racist-ass bullshit.
I mean, it basically is.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter is racism.
It's the Harry Potter equivalent.
It's fictional racism.
So that's basically
a fictional race.
It's basically the same of being like, I hate black people, but you're cool. Or being like, I'm not racist, I have an Asian friend. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. And then he was also, and then Lily was just like, "You're such a shit" to James, and he was just like, he pulls planks on me, and she was just like, "You hang out with actual, like, people who do dark magic and torture people," and he was like, "Well, James pantsed me, so that's like the same thing, right?" And it's like, no, it's not.
One of them is immature and kind of asshole-ish.
And one of them is torturing people with dark magic. There's a difference. So basically, Severus Snape grows up. James grows up. James grows up, becomes a nice person, stops being a shithead. Lily falls in love with him. They go off and live happy life. Snape grows up, doesn't get any character development, doesn't stop being a shithead, becomes more of a shithead, and then joins the wizard Nazis. Of his own free will. Not to be a spy or anything.
That was a thing he joined.
That, like, eventually he did it to be a spy.
He stayed
stayed in the organization to be a spy, but he joined it because he believed in the cause, and the only thing that stopped him from actually being in it was not that he realized, hey, maybe killing everyone that isn't like us is wrong, but he was like, oh no, their quest to kill everyone that isn't like us has led them to target the person that I care about. Therefore, I should probably stop. Which, I mean, whatever works, but also, like, that's not really, that does, unless you later, like, I think that if he later on realized that, like, what he did was wrong, then that wouldn't necessarily be, like, a bad thing, but he didn't. He didn't ever have an issue with what they were doing. It was only when it personally affected someone that he cared about, that he was like, oh no, I don't like this anymore. And it wasn't even that, it was like, he still had an unhealthy obsession with Lily. And then he didn't give a shit if her husband and kid died, which would make her miserable for the rest of her life, probably. It was just, as long as she was okay, he was fine, because then he could have her for himself.
Because he's a shit.
Yeah. And then he's not a Death Eater anymore, which, I mean, that's an improvement. At least, his motivation's still shaky, but I mean, like, at least he's not a Death Eater.
But it doesn't make him a good person.
No. Instead, he decides that he's gonna pick on this kid.
Not being a murderer, in fact, doesn't mean you're not an asshole.
Yeah. So he decides, hey, I'm gonna be a bitch to a bunch of little kids. A bunch of 11-year-old. I'm gonna bully 11-year-old. I'm a 32-year-old man. And I'm gonna make a bunch of 11-year-olds feel like shit because I have no other way of feeling like a competent human. I gotta go on a power trip and make all these 11-year-olds feel sad. Because that's the only way I can make myself feel better, because I'm a horrible and pathetic human.
He's pretty pathetic.
He's shit to all the Gryffindors, he's shit to Harry, he's shit to everyone that Harry associates with, he's shit to Neville. He almost kills Neville's pet, who he loves, because he got a potion wrong. He's a bitch to Hermione, in particular, as well. Because he's like, oh, you're a know-it-all bitch, and your teeth are big, which, I mean, one, you're an adult, and then two, it's like, you asked her a question, and she knows the answer to it. And then he's awful. He's just mean to everybody.
He's just an asshole.
He tried to get serious, and, Remus just murdered straight up. Just cause he was like both Remus and Sirius were like, hey, listen, I know that we were all shit to each other when we were in Wizard High School, but that was over 10 years
and you're
ago.
Still a shit.
But
Sirius was kind of like, you was like, hey, we were shit. I know we were shitheads in high school, but you're still a shithead, so I still hate you.
But Remus was pretty much like Severus. It was over 10 years ago.
Just let it go.
And he was like, nah, I'm gonna get you fired even though you've lived in poverty your whole life because of something you can't control.
And I've actually never done anything to me.
And I'm just gonna murder all of you. Yep. You could try to kill you all. And then throw a pissy fit when that doesn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize. When getting two random ass people's souls sucked out doesn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, I'm gonna be a little bitch about it. I hate him. He never got better.
Yeah.
You just learned more about why he did the things he did. It didn't, like, make him a better person. You were just like, wow.
Learning a motivation does not
equal a redemption arc.
It doesn't excuse what they've done.
Being like, I was creepily obsessed with your mom and wouldn't accept the fact that she wasn't in love with me. That doesn't mean that that's his redemption from being a shit who bullied children, joined the wizard Nazis, tried to kill some people that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I hate him. But I'm gonna stop talking about him now because we've already gone over a limit.
Yeah.
So anyway, we hope you enjoyed us talking about the characters that we hate a lot. And if you disagree with us, then we don't care. We really don't. You know, lots of, especially the last two, those had some pretty mixed opinions. A lot of people love Snape, a lot of people love Clara, a lot of people hate Snape, a lot of people hate Clara. I don't care. I hate them both. But you don't have to. Anyway, that was our podcast. There's a cat on my floor and I really want to pet him. So goodbye.
Bye.